Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to MXGP Pro, where today we're going to be doing a little bit of gameplay action on the MXGP of Latvia track in Kegums, where in this version of the track it's actually ran in reverse to the current version of the track, so obviously don't have the ability to switch that around. But this track this year was pretty similar to what you're looking at right here. A couple different sections were kind of different, but the layout has remained mostly unchanged in Latvia, except for obviously the start either going all the way around past the pit lane here or turning around like it used to right here and just going straight on through this first corner area. So yeah, we're going to talk about the MXGP of Latvia this weekend. That just happened on Sunday. A lot of very interesting things happened, and we're going to touch base on all of them right now. I'm riding as Jorge Prado today because I wanted to kind of just start with the MX2 class guys and just mosey right on through them, because there's a lot more action that was packed into the MXGP class this weekend, and I feel like a lot, maybe more storylines to talk about. But the MX2 class was about as cut and dry as you could get this weekend. Prado goes 1-1, Jago Geertz goes 2-2, Thomas Kjær goes 3-3, Ben Watson goes 4-4. You have to get all the way down to Bas Vossen, who finished 5th, but I don't even think he finished 5th once. I think he went 7-6 for 5th. So, like I said, it was a pretty standard weekend for the MX2 guys, and Jorge Prado now has a 30-point lead in the championship over Thomas Kjær, who, even at a race that I thought he should probably finish second at, couldn't finish second, so not looking too good for anybody else not named Prado at the moment. And again, kind of the storyline that we continue to follow with Prado is whether or not he jumps to the USA in 2020, when he will be inevitably forced out of the GP or the MX2 class into the MXGP class due to winning 2 world titles in the 250 class. That didn't used to be a rule. Jeffrey Hurling's coming through kind of changed that around. Initially it was going to be the 2 world titles rule, but then they changed it for Hurling's and then changed it back after Hurling's left. I don't think they're going to do that again, because I think they want to try to stick to like a principal concept. But Prado is only going to be 19 next year, basically. Like he's going to turn 19 this year, and into next year he'll still be 19. So that age, moving up to a 450, could still be considered a little bit younger than they would like. You know, Tim Geiser moved up when he was young. I think he was only 19 when he won his world title on the 450 class a couple years ago, but he's big. He's a big guy, and it always kind of made sense that he'd be on a 450 pretty soon anyway. Prado, I think, is still developing a little bit, and while I think he'd be great on a 450, I think it's not, you know, necessarily the best move. But that's probably just my wishful thinking and hoping that he maybe comes to the USA. He actually got asked this weekend by Lewis Phillips of MX Vice, what are your plans for next year? Like, what are you thinking at this moment? And in the past, he had said, well, I'm very happy with the Ducati KTM team. I could see myself, you know, being here for a long time, and it feels like family and moving up, etc., etc. This time he answered by saying, there's still a lot of racing left to go. Haven't really put like a ton of thought into it, basically, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, was the gist of it. Not his exact words, that was a paraphrase, but interesting to me in that is that he didn't necessarily say the same thing that he had said before, which is, I'm very happy at Ducati KTM, I could see myself moving up with them. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but that is an interesting thing to like look at, is well, maybe he is actually thinking about this move to the USA. He's ridden some Supercross before. He looks really good in the whoops, which a lot of guys don't. And it'd be, you know, really awesome to see him come to the USA, but we'll keep an eye on that. Anyway, let's talk about the MXGP class, the 450 class over there in Latvia this weekend, because that's where really the high drama came from the weekend as a whole. Coming into this weekend, if you hadn't been following, Antonio Cairoli had 4 of maybe the worst races of his life in consecutive GPs, like back-to-back GPs. He had 4 of the worst races ever. First one wasn't too bad in France, caught and passed by Geiser late, finishes second. Not too bad, still has over a 30-point lead in the championship. Nothing to freak out about. He's still in the mix, no big deal. Second race, he hits the gate, crashes 3 or 4 times, ends up 17th, and then you're like, ooh, that's not good. Then we go to Russia, has a bad first moto, was only able to finish 12th. gets a 4th in the second moto, but now he comes into Latvia, I believe it was 10 points down in the championship, so, or 13 points down in the championship maybe? So it was looking like not great suddenly after it looked so good for him for a very long time, and it was really kind of a peculiar change, and he has been dealing with some injuries, so hence the bad Russian round, but unfortunately for him, we were in like the successive GP kind of window where there's only a week off between France and Russia, and then there was no weeks off between Russia and Latvia, and there's going to be no weeks off coming up until, you know, Germany this coming weekend, so he just kind of had to bite the bullet, grit it out, try to do what he could, and quite honestly, it looked like that's exactly how it was going to work for him in the first moto. Didn't have a particularly great qualifying race, but the first moto was really good, I thought, for how bad he's kind of been recently, where started up front, led for a little bit, got passed by Tonus took off, and then Hurlings got by him, or Hurlings left him too, but then he just stayed in third and just kind of maintained. It looked like you could pretty clearly see he was laboring a little bit, not able to attack in some spots of the track, but much better than we had seen, and crucially, Geyser was having an off first moto, so Cairoli actually beat Geyser in the first moto. Geyser was 6th, Cairoli was 4th. Geyser probably feeling a little bit of the ill effects from just an absolute lawn dart crash that he had in qualifying on Saturday. And then we get to the second moto. There's a lot of storylines, so I'm kind of going to jump around here, but the second moto for Cairoli in this exact section, basically where I just rode over right there, on the first lap of the race going the other direction because the track was going backwards this weekend, swaps over the little anthill jump and augers in, flips over, and lo and behold, Antonio Cairoli has dislocated his shoulder. How bad? We don't yet know the effects. He was going to go get checked out today, Monday, as I'm making this video, to see what's wrong, what is happening, is it going to be bad enough? Initial prognosis sounds like he's going to at the very least try this weekend in Germany, which, you know, I think is probably the likely scenario regardless of how bad the separation is. I know once you get to the higher grade separations, then it's pretty much like, well, all it takes is him just like leaning back and the thing pops out. But if it's not too bad, if there's not a ton of ligament damage and it was able to go out and kind of go back in and not, you know, damage a bunch of the muscles or ligaments or anything along the way, then he may have dodged a pretty big bullet, but at the very least, he'll still be pretty sore this weekend in Germany. He'll have to really mind his business, kind of take it easy, which kind of fortunately Germany isn't like a super high-speed track with a lot of big stuff. It's kind of a real tight technical track, which can obviously hurt the shoulder, but at least it's not going to be able to the hard impacts per se. So again, still kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to see like what exactly is the prognosis. Is it as bad as some people believe, or is he going to be okay? Hopefully he's okay. It really sucked to see this great World Championship battle between him and Geyser end prematurely this way, but you know, obviously we'll have to sit back and see. So anyway, as Cairoli is walking off the track holding a shoulder, Tim Geyser is working his way forward to take the lead, and kind of crucially doesn't have like maybe the same level of competition that he did in the first race. Why is that? Well, before the first race got started, so Jeffrey Hurlings was able to win the qualifying race on Saturday, caught and passed Paul's Jonas to do it. Looked good, looked like he's getting back to form, fitness maybe not fully there, but you know, he is obviously probably the best rider in the world right now, so the speed is there. And they go out for the sighting lap before MXGP race 1. And just kind of a harmless little tip over in a corner, or not in a corner, just coming out of a corner, I should say. And yeah, Arminas Jasakonis right behind him, doesn't really see him, comes over, goes right over the foot that he had just broken, you know, over the off season, and had all this time to get fixed and whatnot. And you're like, oh, come on, like that's the worst way for him to go back out of the series. But he gets back up, finishes the lap, gets back onto the gate, starts the moto. You're like, okay, maybe everything was fine. Maybe it's just, you know, ran over his boot, didn't really hurt much. Was able to, like, You could tell it was causing pain just because at the beginning of the race when the adrenaline levels were low, he was a little bit on the struggle bus, like he couldn't get the ball rolling and actually went backwards first before like kind of regaining his composure and having a late race charge. But yeah, got in the mix with everybody, caught and passed Arnaud Tonus late for the lead, went on to win the first moto, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess it wasn't as bad as like they had thought. Then he comes off the track, interviews with Lisa Leyland on the TV and says, my foot is in so much pain. Can't believe that just happened. I feel like miserable. It was really tough to finish that moto and stand. And so it goes up to the medics tent right after that. They're able to get an x-ray done pretty quick. And he has cracked a bone in his ankle. Not the foot this time. It was actually a bone in his ankle. He posted an Instagram, a Facebook, etc. of the x-ray. Pretty sizable little chip off of his ankle bone. And that's it. Herlings is back out of the series again. He did not line up for race 2. As kind of was expected, you'd probably do more damage than good at that point. So backed out, won the first moto, wasn't out there for the second moto, and it sounds like he's going to be out for a GP or 2 again at least while he gets the ankle re-healed on the same foot. So talk about weird bad luck. Jeffrey Herlings just not able to buy a break right now. Gritty as hell that he's still able to win a moto on a broken ankle, and I'm not trying to blow the guy up and say like, oh, like it really wasn't that bad, and he still was. No, like the ankle bone was pretty chopped up, pretty good. Like it wasn't like it was just a little crack here and there. It was a nice little good chip off the bone. So that's impressive to me that he was able to accomplish that. And yeah, I guess good on him. But unfortunately, it's now back to the couch for him for a little bit to get healed up. And yeah, like I said, it left a little bit of a void in that second race because Tim Geiser, when he didn't get the best start but was able to kind of charge forward, got into the lead and kind of took off from there, and really wasn't in line for the overall victory for a very long time because he went 6th in the first moto. So the best he could do is 40 points with the 6-1. And just the way it shook out behind him, it just kind of fell into his lap. Arnaud Tonus, who was 2nd in the first race, was 2nd in the second race for a little bit and then started fading and went forward and then backward. And it just was kind of a yo-yo effect between him and the factory Yamaha boys of Jeremy Sewer and Romain Fevre. And they just kept going back and forth. And eventually Fevre was able to finish 2nd. And Sewer went off the podium late by dropping to 3rd, so he went 5-3, and Tonus went 2-4. So 4-2 for Fevre, 2-4 for Sewer, and 6-1 for Geiser. They all tied on points, but again, podium overalls are determined by second moto finish. Geiser with the win gets the win of the GP. Romain Fevre 2nd, going 4-2, and Arnaud Tonus going 2-4 for 3rd. Is how it shook out at the MXGP of Latvia. Weird weekend, to say the least. Couple of just like very interesting circumstances. A lot of guys kind of complaining about the track, and then some guys saying no, the track was actually really well prepped, and nobody seems to be on the same page. And Gauthier Paulin had maybe the gnarliest save I've ever seen on Saturday in qualifying, where he caught the lip of a jump on the top and went over the hill and landed in the sand, kind of like going sideways, but still going pretty fast, and slid down the hill, and then it caught and was high-siding him, but then he pulled it back and whipped it to the other side, slid down the hill. All this while at speed. I don't know. You guys got to look it up. Gauthier Paulin, Kegam's crash or qualifying race highlights or anything like that. It was mental that he saved it and then just crashed later. So Paulin's having a bit of a rough middle part of his year, that's for sure. But yeah, that's kind of the lot right now from Latvia until we hear more news excuse me, about Cairoli. Kind of don't really know where this championship is. Obviously, we do know that Geiser's now extended his championship lead out to, I believe, 32 points is the gap right now, 32 or 33 points. So it's the biggest for him it's been all year. He's able to win another GP this weekend, and he's got the ball rolling, but as most pundits would tell you, and pretty much everybody that's ever watched this series before would tell you, you can't just count on the fact that Geiser's got this thing in the bag now, especially because he's probably the most crash-prone guy on the racetrack, and there's a lot of Yamaha guys right now battling for 3 through 6, it seems, that if Geyser goes out, suddenly might be thrust into a world championship battle. I'm not going to get to that point because obviously I don't want Geyser to go out. I hope everybody stays healthy and they get through the season fine, and I hope that Cairoli actually comes back and makes this thing interesting. But if we're saying that Cairoli is going to be out for a long time and it gives Geyser this, you know, massive championship lead, don't necessarily write it home that this is Geyser's championship for sure, because we've seen a lot weirder things happen before, namely like Hurling's breaking his femur mid-season and trying to come back at the last round with a rod in it to win, but Jordi Tixier winning the world title instead. So, like, you know, the season is so long that a lot can happen, and I don't think we've seen kind of the last straw with it, with Cairoli getting a dislocated shoulder and, at least for now, going out of the series. So we'll see what happens in Germany this weekend. Very excited to watch it. Teutschenthal is a really good track. It's not my favorite, but like I said, kind of tight, twisty, technical. Most American fans would remember it from the MX Nations back in 2013 that Belgium won at, and Ken Roczen and Eli Tomac had an epic battle of epic proportions on both of their final career rides on a 250. Ken Roczen obviously got the better of Tomac when Tomac yard sailed on one of those big anthill jumps. So you probably remember the track from that. But yeah, excited to watch that this weekend. Hope you guys are as well. And thank you guys again for watching another video here on Start Your Systems. Quick little recap of the MXGP of Latvia from the weekend on Kegums. Having a little bit of fun, playing a little bit of games, and talking a little bit about the series. So I'll see you guys in our next video coming out tomorrow. Or if you guys are around at the moment, be sure to head over to twitch.tv/StartYourSystemsTV or StartYourSystems.com, because we're also going to be streaming the MXGP of France race, the RFGP of France race, and MX Simulator tonight. So hope to see you guys there. But as always, I thank you guys so much for watching another video here on Start Your Systems, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.